to hear more of a maybe a next agenda, because we, at the start, so you don't have to stay here the whole night, is exactly some of the other things that you're doing to be more transparent in your office so we can understand, specifically as it relates to things under our purview here. And I think that would be, if that sounds okay, or is any, I don't know, I didn't want to cut people off and just
No, I mean, I think we'd shoot this ball.
shoot it
well.
up. Okay, I want to make
We
sure
can move up or down on the ball
everybody's
later.
comfortable with that.
Everybody's got the idea.
Yeah, got the idea.
Mr. Brennan?
All right, you're commenting on this agenda? Okay.
Yes, sir, I am. With all due respect, Dr. Alt, people keep referring to Mr. Ward, the County Board of Ed. I have an email that I sent him when we first discovered the district was borrowing from Provo. And I sent him an email and I said, you know, we need your help down here. His response to me was, we have no jurisdiction over Sweetwater. Secondly, as a member of the community that comes here and is pretty verbal, I would just like to say for the record that until there is a change in superintendent and board members, the community is going to continue to look to this VOC and continue to question everything. No disrespect meant to you. I know you're doing a great job. I hear great things about you, sir. But I've been dealing with this for 3 years. And you're not the captain of the ship. You may be the first mate, but you're not the captain. So until the captain's gone, I'm going to continue to question. And using Randy Ward or the County Board of Ed, to me, means nothing. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Don't sugarcoat it.
Well, technically it'd be the purser, but that's a second.
Thank you for that
Oh,
clarification.
you're military.
I had to make.
All
I
right.
had to make
Let's
my naval
The
background.
next agenda item is the military industrial complex. This is no, that's not.
It needs money, feed it. Feed my
Okay.
children.
Okay, who said that? What president was it? I know. We do have a time certain,
Eisenhower.
I know that. Kevin pointed that out to me very early on in the process. We do have a time certain, but we got the bond project updates. I had a couple of questions I don't necessarily need it answered. But Tom, would you want to go through it, or want to maybe do it by questions?
We can do it, I can just
I don't know.
scroll
if it's
through it,
really-
we
I
can
know I read through it.
do it by
what would the
exception.
people-
I'd like to hear Tom's summary.
Okay, go ahead.
the HVAC upgrade at Benita Vista High since 1966 when the school opened. We've got a central plant out there, it's about ready to die. In fact, it's half dead. We've got one more classroom building that has not had rooftop units put on it. The rest were put on under Prop BB. We'll be doing the 600 units. And to accelerate the process, we work with DSA, and we're actually ordering the equipment directly off of a piggyback bid from Orange School District, and that'll be going to the board for approval. And that way we get the units quicker, we get the units installed when the contractor's ready with the curbing, and we can beat 6 to 8 weeks out of the process. Hopefully get them in there before the hot season's over. Track and field design continues, we're about 10%. Castle Park High, the Title IX improvements, Phase 1 is almost complete, just a little punch list items. Phase 2 design's 100%, we just are in the process of awarding the contract at the board for the dugouts and fencing around the softball field. And that will be done before fall. Chula Vista High, portable renewals have been demolished and they're gone. Enrollment does not require us to put any more additional portables on that campus, so we're not. Save some money. And we'll be cleaning up the area where the portables were last done with asphalt paving. Ranger Junior High, the health clinic is 100% designed. The bidder was Kinsman. It's going to be going to the board. It was too late for this time, but it's going to go next board meeting. And it was well below the estimate, which is not surprising in this. We've seen architects, our estimates that are about 10 to 15% higher than what we actually get bids on.
Okay, question on that, Tom.
Sure.
I realize it's a little bit outside your purview because it's operations, but how is that health clinic run?
It runs under a partnership, and I'm pretty familiar with it because I've been involved in the construction side of it, working with them, and basically it's a partnership with the district, and what they do is they service students and family members of students through the, Medi-Cal and all the different health grants that they can get, and they provide, a healthy student and a healthy family, and therefore, the kids learn better if they're healthy.
So, splitting that baby, realizing it, Propo funding, there are other sources going into that.
Correct,
that,
absolutely.
And we're getting a fair shake out of those sources.
It's 50-50.
Okay.
It's half district, half Operation
County
Samohan
services.
funded. And they get their funding from several different grants.
Samarkand?
Samohan, Operation Samohan.
Samohan. Is that who operates it?
Yeah, it's Operation Samohan.
And they're a nonprofit?
They're a nonprofit, and they've got a health clinic across the street from Sweetwater High. And on the board agenda this time is an expansion of services. They're going to be using some of the facilities over at Sweetwater for kids, directly giving services over at the school. Kids also go there after school if they feel uncomfortable getting services during school. And then this one's at Granger Junior High. So it's really in the National City area.
Okay. I mean, I was sort of with Kerry a little bit. I mean, education is suffering a little bit of mission creep, as it were, because we're feeding them and we're counseling them and we're basically raising them. And you go back, are we really educating them at a level they would? I'm not saying it's not necessary, but I'm just wondering, and it isn't going to be settled at this level. I'm just looking, we're putting money into this.
I understand. So it's a social issue, and
Yeah, I know.
we are dealing with it the best we can. Hilltop High School track and field is in design about 25%. Mr. Chair, you have some questions?
Mr. Chair, I had a question.
Yeah, Bernardo,
So-
I was gonna say mine at the end, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I don't know that this is either right or wrong and would hope for a response from the district here. I'm noticing that we're really starting to put a lot of money into the track and field designs at numerous schools. And not that it isn't necessary, I know that, Sweetwater's old and their track is pretty beat up. Hilltop is in the same condition, Benita's in the same condition. Does the district make the decision to move forward with refurbishing those tracks? Do you get input from the schools? Because I kind of look at across the district and schools that are still in desperate need of some infrastructure. Benita Vista Middle, East Lake High School. And I know that these are planned for phase 2 of the bond program. But who's made a decision that upgrading track and fields is becoming more important than, for example, having heating and air conditioning in classrooms, having broken windows replaced at schools, more infrastructure that really is more towards the teaching of kids in a classroom. So I guess the question is, how was the decision made to replace a track at Hilltop High School, at Bonita Vista High School, over maybe more immediate needs in infrastructure in a classroom?
Mr. Chair, the classroom infrastructure at this point is adequate. There's been some safety issues at a lot of these tracks, holes, ruts, meets that can't be completed because the officials won't allow it to proceed or they have to compete at another venue because they just don't have the facility. Sweetwater High, which is under construction now, which did have some outside funding from both the NFL and block grant funding from the City of National City, plus a community sports discount on the turf itself. It was 1.5 feet low at one end and 2 feet high at the other end. So it was a 3.5-foot differential. And I don't know if Gail Beavers was running downhill in the back or.
Montgomery was the same way, by the way.
But again, these conditions did not creep up overnight. They've deteriorated over the years, and for the most part, because the priorities have been, the classrooms and keeping, adequate air. And Bonita Vista High is one of the last areas where the air conditioning isn't adequate that we're replacing in the summer. I know that Hilltop Middle has a couple classrooms remaining to be air conditioned. So those are the top priorities. for us, once, we get through and get to that site. The phase 2, the long-range facilities master plan update, which will occur now that we got our contracts manager on board. We're starting to get, RFQs out the door. We've got one coming up with professional services, and then the long-range plan is the next one. That'll do a reassessment of all the district facilities, built and, infrastructure as well. And we'll prioritize those, and we'll probably be engaging members of this committee in that process, and obviously updating you during the process and coming back to you with the priorities that we have once the conditions are assessed and, the master plans are completed at the schools. Member of the community, Mr. Chair?
Oh, why don't we, can we maybe go through the whole thing, and then we'll get members of the community to comment? Then I'll make all my comments at the end. Go ahead.
Okay, Montgomery High School also. Montgomery High School Project 2, that one is 100% designed. One increment has been in construction and complete before graduation. Everything else is moving, trenching, grading. There's a lot of activities going on around the site, getting ready for construction, but we're still working with DSA to get the structural completed. The fire life safety and the accessibility is complete on the 2 remaining increments, one for the gym, one for the classroom building. The security resident has been relocated and moved out. They sold their trailer, so the site's clear and ready to go.
It hasn't been relocated, then it's been removed.
Yeah, it's been removed, and he's been relocated to wherever he wanted to move to.
Yeah, okay.
But the fleas have been left behind.
The fleas.
I'm not kidding.
I heard about the fleas. We did some flea bombing there. So there's the construction site, as you can see it there. Broken rubble, pulling that stuff out. And this is where the gym's going to go. Step down, it's differential grade. And then Montgomery Middle, phase 1, 88% complete. They'll be done this summer, August 20. We're hoping to get the students in there before the end of July. And here's the project. Remember, we had the topping out ceremony there, and looking forward to the celebration of the ribbon cutting. Quad area. Kitchen.
Is that, sound dumb, but stick with me. Is that kitchen for cooking for the students, or is that kitchen for the kids learning how to cook?
No, this is for preparing meals for the children.
Okay.
And mainly it's a serving kitchen, it's not a full, it has some production capacity, but, it's
Cook somewhere else.
a lot of the stuff's brought in and then warmed up. But they can cook some things. Typical classroom. National City Middle 2, that's the rendering. On the right is the portion that will be connected to the portion on the left, where the cafeteria is. And 2 buildings will be demolished. After bidding, I can tell you that going to the board, the final GMP is about $1 million plus less than what the preliminary GMP was after we bid the job. So despite what Mr. Carlin says, we do publicly bid all the sub-trades, and we get the best bid and the best amount for the dollars. And the abatement is going on right now. And we'll be going ahead with demolition probably within 2 weeks. It'll be down, 2 of the buildings will be down before the students are coming back to school, and the last building will be down next year after the students leave.
Tom, I have a couple questions on the National City Middle School. And I guess it would apply maybe so the original GMP estimate was from the project architect?
The GMP comes from the project architect, based on, the engineers, and also it does get developed with input from the contractor, looking at what the building is, doing takeoff. And then you don't know the real price, obviously, until bid day, when you go out and, each individual trade contractor bids their portion of the work, and put all the bids together.
Now, for the subcontractors, the terms of who the subcontractors are and how many are advertised in the whole process for is that under the primary responsibility of the lease-back contract?
Right, and it's open book. We look at all the bids with them. We get the bids, we're there with them, we, help them, make the right choice, and they usually make the right choice, except in some cases where there is some information on a contractor that's not performing on other jobs. Sometimes they'll go with not the lowest bidder, but maybe the most capable bidder, because the lowest bidder sometimes is not capable of doing the job. We've had that happen to us on 3 of the 6 major projects that we bid. As you recall, 2 car and one with another firm, they defaulted. We're able to complete those.
So, but what I'm getting at is that the subcontract, which is, as you explained it, it's a competitive process, but the subcontractors themselves,
That's a select bidders list.
is it, because that's what I've heard, I'll be candid with it, is the select, and I'm trying to understand.
It's advertised to a group of contractors that are capable of doing the job. A lot of it's publicly bid, and anybody can bid based on, depending on what it is. If it's a, HVAC system, concrete, whatever. In this case, McCarthy's self-performing concrete work, so they're doing that. We look at their price as well, and their prices based on, competitive bids, looking at others for, per square foot cost of concrete. So we want to make sure, because it's completely open book, that we're getting the best value. And then there's the multiplier for the general conditions and the profit and the management of the job, which is 6.8%. And that's part of the pre-selection process when these folks were selected, when it was competitively let out on a value-based selection, looking at the price with others.
Thing. What I'm belaboring this a little bit because it's really within, this is, like what was the bond oversight committee supposed to do and not do? This area, and I'm not gonna quote take sides, but the area of lease-back is such a critical issue that really is under the bond oversight committee in terms of, is this the best practices of how we want to procure our facilities? And advantages and disadvantages over a more design bid build, which has its drawbacks, just bid it to everybody. So I think it's important, and maybe not at this meeting, but to really get into this issue because it is such, part of it is, I think, an informational, not understanding how it works. And but it relates to the next agenda item, which I think we need to get to after we get through this. Is reading through the grand jury transcripts, and if you understand how the whole system works, and the potential when you have any element of qualification-based selection, sometimes you have to have it for architects, there's a potential when you don't have things, and I'm not trying to wave a magic wand to make it all better with not having any monkey business, but if you understand how lease-back works, you might have a different perception about when it isn't appropriate to be used and what kind of district should be having it or shouldn't be having it, depending on the culture and competitiveness of the district and wanting that kind of procurement. So I'm asked that question on the subcontractors because it's not every contractor in the Western world. It's a select contractors that general contractor wants to work with. Is that pretty much it, or?
It depends, again, on the trade. Some are more specifically pooled than others. Some are opened up to, full public bid and advertisement.
Okay.
So it depends on, what part of the contract you're looking at.
Yeah.
But again, all of it's open book, all of it's reviewed by the district, and we can reject or accept the bids and make them rebid if necessary. We were thankful that, the bids came in $1 million less than what the estimate was going to be.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
if it's open book and we have a subcommittee that is the contractor procurement subcommittee, it's open to us as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would open up, everything we do. In fact, I think someone on the committee participated in the selection process.
I did.
Well, you wouldn't sign the,
No, that was the bond oversight.
oh, yes, the other one. Okay. But anyway, we're getting into the weeds a little bit.
Yeah,
so
let's
try to
get
get
into the
through this.
weeds, it's your fault, Kevin.
Yes, I know, it's all blows my.
Southwest Middle, increment 1, RNTU about,
That's what I like.
with APR about 5% complete on the construction. Modernization of 13 portables begun, should be done this summer. 1B, the bid documents are being completed, late 2013, we'll have the scheduled bid. Sweetwater Union High building, we got approved plans, bidding's underway, construction complete in the fall. Site restoration of parking lot improvements, design is done, demolition's been completed. We're going to revise it based on, once the solar goes in, the parking lot design will be basically modifying that. We've modified it to accept the solar panels as they're laid out, so we can maximize the parking. Track and field is underway, and there you go, it's level now. That's what it's going to look like when it's done. And then we got the solar. We continue at 10 sites. Currently, we got 5 sites, I'm sorry, 6 sites under construction now, and columns are up at 3. So we're rolling along, and it's making good progress. Should be, most of those should be done, those 6 will be done later in July, August. By the time the kids get back, it'll be pretty much completed. There they are putting out the, drilling the holes and putting in the concrete. Interim housing removal at Montgomery. The basketball courts finally closed out. Big milestone. Closeout's been a problem with architects not filling out all the paperwork. We're chasing down where our closure rate is increasing now. So we're getting close. Half of them that weren't closed out last year due to some forms have been closed out. We'll get the rest of them this year. That completes the project status.
You know, Tom, I don't know how, I don't know.
Any questions?
Protocol.
I have one.
I know Bernardo has to leave.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It's okay?
Just stick with the agenda.
Okay, all right, never mind, go ahead. I had a couple quick things. Wait, first of all, anybody else have any questions?
I have one.
All right, Kevin, and then Dr. Grubb.
I sent you an email last week. The HAR project. The 22 or 24 sheath of conduit that supposedly wasn't in place, that ultimately he was given $149,999 for.
Yeah, where was this at?
Okay.
I don't know if I saw it.
His testimony is that they had handholds and sweeps, but there was some 300 feet of conduit that was missing. He came up with a $225,000 change order, and it was told he couldn't have it. Gondra had signature at under 150, and so in the end he took a $149,999. I think 225, not knowing the terrain he had to go through, but it showed those to exist on the plans, a continuous sheet of conduit. They weren't there. There were handholds and sweeps, but nothing, no connectivity. But that was done with BB money, I understand.
So those were as-built from BB?
Those are as-built for BB. Now,
Which site was this at, Kevin? I'm sorry. What site was it at?
You know, I
I believe it was Southwest Middle.
think it was Southwest Middle,
Southwest Middle.
I don't know if it was middle or high.
but it was one of the Southwest. It was a hard contract.
Right, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, both of them.
you're gonna be 50% right. But we pay, I mean, it brings a bunch of questions. Number one, we actually paid to have these things installed, and they weren't. We had a bond, we had a third-party inspector, we had a whole lot of things going on that seemingly failed, not in a fairly large manner. And then we paid for it with Prop O money. So I sent you an email and I just wanted to get some
I
some
don't know
background.
that I received it. When did you send it to me?
It was last week.
I'll go back
Yeah,
and check.
but I mean, the point is we know that some of these contractors were being forgiven and the bonds were not being acted upon, or you know,
Well, we know that we defaulted hard on 2 different ones, so.
yeah, but and I won't get into legality, but I don't know that at this late date you can reach back to that surety.
Well, anything that's a latent defect has a 10-year statutory limit.
Well, in construction defect it does,
So.
but in
a
payment
defect-
performance bond,
But a defect to me is if something was designed and not installed properly, that's a defect.
well, and yeah, but it's more of a breach of contract, because if, and I've played a lot in this arena, but
Right.
you're not gonna get anything out of the for payment performance surety, because you didn't give, the district didn't give a chance to cure.
Right.
And they could have stepped in and would have stepped in. We lost that one. As far as who didn't put the conduit in, you got them up pretty close to the 10-year statute, I would think, so we don't wanna dawdle.
Yeah, so let me get a hold of that email, Kevin, and if I don't find it, let me get you to resend it.
Yeah, and generally speaking, that's gonna be a work product issue, and the only money you're gonna get is if he's gotta cut through the parking lot or the damage to any other thing he's put in, but the lack of that is gonna be a work product, and it won't be covered under liability insurance, so. Okay,
Thanks.
if you will, get back to me, I'll take a look at it.
Any other members before I hear from the public? Mr. Payne had his hand up first, and I saw Mrs. Cheers did too. So, Mr. Payne, you've been sitting there patiently.
Thank you so much. I will actually go back to you don't have to bring it back up, but to the tracks and the facilities. You know, I think the district, you have this bond, you're really missing an opportunity to turn these athletic facilities, if you're gonna spend this type of money on them, turn them into an asset. What we're doing, and we do this all across the county, so Sweetwater is no different in that regard. If you come in, you throw it in the turf, you throw in a track, and you call it done. And you don't really create a facility that would become an asset to you, that would generate revenue for your athletic programs or school site, or whatever the case may be. Prime example, the markings for Sweetwater High School, I'm fairly sure they are the National High School Association markings. Do you know, Tom?
Those are standard on every athletic field that was done.
Standard high school markings, right, but they're not international. So if you were to put the international markings in there, as well as the high school markings, and the difference is, in international, they run 400 hurdles, they don't run 300 hurdles. So if you did that, then you could host international type events. For example, the Youth Association for Track and Field here in San Diego, they just had their meet. Most of the teams are right here in Sweetwater and Escondido because there's no facilities here. And so that's probably $4,000 or $5,000 worth of rent over 2 days that a school or the district could have received. So my point is this: really evaluate when you're doing these facilities, add more seating, put in a reasonable PA system, put both international and national high school mark